The sky was black with smoke, the kind that didn't just choke your lungs, it swallowed hope. Captain Alara Miles stood knee-deep in rubble, her breath shallow inside a cracked filtration mask. Around her, the once proud colony of Lerna Prime lay shattered, a memory torn apart by plasma fire and alien war machines. Of the 37,000 who'd lived here, maybe 100 still clung to life, and that was being generous. They weren't soldiers anymore. They were survivors, eh? Faint beeping echoed in her earpiece. She tapped her neural relay. Miles, report. Ma'am, came Lieutenant Sora's static-warped voice. We've picked up something odd. Southwest Ridge. It's not Syndicate tech. That stopped her cold. Syndicate meant the biomechanical swarm that had been tearing across the Orion Arm for a decade. The ones who'd turned Earth into a sealed graveyard. What kind of signal? Sora hesitated. It's human, ma'am. Ilara's heart skipped. That couldn't be right. Humanity hadn't established outposts this deep in the frontier. Not since the Warfall. Not since the fallback protocol erased Earth's forward colonies. You're sure? Running it through the archives now. It's an old-style distress. PING. Pre-escape code. Ancient. That made no sense. She motioned to her scout team. Gear up. We're moving. They marched through ghost alleys and bombed out stations, following the signal into the wilderness that used to be their home. As they climbed the ridge, the horizon cracked open with a pale light dawn, stubborn and indifferent. Then they saw it. A structure, buried half beneath the scorched rock. Cylindrical, carbon metal alloy so old, it predated current fabrication standards. It hummed, like a heartbeat that had waited centuries to be found. Ilara approached cautiously. The beacon's signal spiked. She reached out, fingertips brushing the hull. Symbols etched into the surface glowed faintly, not VR, not Terran, something else. Suddenly, the hatch hissed. Everyone raised their rifles. A shadow moved inside, slow, deliberate. Then a voice came through the static, clear, human, and impossible. Hello, is anyone alive out there? Ilara froze. This is Captain Alara Miles, Terran Vanguard. Identify yourself. There was a pause. Then, I'm Commander Julian Reeve, Terran Command, Expedition 5. Ilara's blood ran cold. Expedition 5 had vanished 97 years ago. They stood there in silence, blinking through dust and disbelief, as the hatch groaned wider. The interior of the vessel let out a blast of cold air, sterile, cryogenic. Ilara's rifle never dropped, but her breath caught as a figure stepped into the half-light. He was human, gaunt, pale, wrapped in a faded Terran expeditionary jacket, one that hadn't been in circulation since before the collapse. His eyes, though those were sharp, alert, watching them with equal disbelief. Reeve, Ilara said, still not lowering her weapon. That can't be. You're dead. You're all dead. Julian Reeve raised both hands slowly. I thought the same about everyone else. Behind him, more shapes emerged. 5, 10, 12. All in the same outdated gear, their faces stunned by sunlight that hadn't touched them in decades. One woman collapsed to her knees, sobbing at the sight of the red sky. Another clutched a soil sample container, like it was sacred scripture. Ilara's team spread out in a perimeter, weapons on edge, eyes wider than war had ever made them. These weren't soldiers. They were survivors from another era. Reeves' voice was hoarse. We were deep survey, tasked with charting the exoplanet chain past Vega. We lost contact, went dark, then something happened. Systems failed, something interfered. Half of us went into cryo. The rest didn't make it. Your last transmission was almost a century ago, Ilara said, scanning his face for anything artificial, anything Veer. Your mission was declared lost. No trace found. We weren't lost, Reeve replied. We were hidden. That sent a chill through her spine. Hidden by what? She asked. Reeve shook his head. I don't know. But we weren't the only ones here. Ilara's squad exchanged uneasy glances. I don't like this, whispered Sora beside her. It feels off, like a trap. Ilara understood. The Syndicate Vyre used mimicry, deception, infiltration. But if this was a ruse, it was a damn convincing one. She stepped closer. What do you mean, not the only ones? Reeves' expression darkened. We picked up structures, deep underground, alien, but dormant, or we thought they were. We tried to study them, and that's when things started going wrong. Vier? She asked. No, he said. Worse, older. The words sank in like lead. Before she could ask more, her earpiece crackled with a sharp, panicked tone. Captain, you need to see this. It was Sora again, back at the surface scanner. Ilara jogged toward the ridge, Reeve following close behind. The team had clustered around the portable screen. Sora pointed to a growing heat, bloomed just west of their position, massive, silent, rising from deep beneath the crust. It wasn't Fior movement, it was awakening. That's below the old mining shelf, Ilara muttered. There's nothing active down there, not since the fallback. Reeves' face drained of color. That's where we found the other vault. We never opened it. Ilara turned to him. You didn't have to. Just then, the earth shuddered. A low, groaning vibration rolled beneath their boots. Dust kicked into the air. In the distance, somewhere beyond the next ridge, a column of light shot into the sky white, almost celestial, and then collapsed into pure darkness. Not fire, not destruction. An absence, a signal, a warning, or a beacon. Ilara's voice was steel. We need to get back to base. Now. I want every drone, every scan, and every weapon we've got watching that ridge. And Reeve? She turned to the commander, who should have been dead for a century. You're coming with me. You're going to tell me everything you saw down there. He nodded slowly. You won't believe it. I already don't, she said, and behind them, unnoticed by human eyes, something beneath the planet's crust stirred for the first time in 100,000 years. Something that had been waiting for the signal. The base was little more than a shell, a half-crushed command outpost buried in the side of a crater, protected only by makeshift blast doors and camo netting. It had once housed a battalion. Now it was a refugee camp with old weapons, flickering lights, and too many ghosts. Ilara sat across from Commander Julian Reeve in the comms room, her arms crossed, eyes narrowed. Every sensor was lit, every drone orbiting. The signal from the underground vault still pulsed in rhythmic, bone-deep tremors like something massive shifting in its sleep. Start from the beginning, she said. Reeve looked tired, like he'd lived too long in a dream that refused to end. We were 5 ships. 1 deep-core science vessel, 4 support units. We left from the Argo Gate. 20-year mission. Then something went wrong with the navigation relay. We got thrown off course. Drifted this far. He nodded. Woke up in orbit above this world. We called it dataless. Seemed habitable. Resources were rich. We landed. And then found the first vault buried beneath the northern ice shelf. You opened it? No. But we triggered something. Our tech started failing. People vanished. Not died, vanished. No signs. No blood, just gone. Ilara's breath hitched. You think something in the vault took them? He shook his head. I think something used them. Before she could question further, alarms screamed through the base. Proximity breach. Ilara lunged for the console. Visuals. Now. The screen blinked, then showed the ridge, where the beam had fired earlier. Something was rising, but it wasn't a ship. It was a structure. Angular, black as vacuum, folding and unfolding like origami, made of obsidian. It pulsed with veins of red light, rising higher into the sky with every passing second. Something alien, yes, but not Syndicate. Not even close. Reeve stood behind her. That's the second vault. Why now? She muttered. He answered quietly. Because they... No, you're here now. The structure surged upward. A low-frequency hum filled the air, vibrating the fillings in Alara's teeth. All across the base, soldiers grabbed helmets, medics braced the injured, children cried as walls rattled, then silence, and a voice not through the coms, not through air. But inside their skulls. You have awakened the others. Sora stumbled backward, hands over her ears. What the hell was that? Telepathic, Reeve whispered. They did it before. In dreams. We thought we were losing our minds. Alara stared at the growing monolith. What are they? Reeve swallowed hard. We called them the architects. We don't know if they were builders, gods, weapons, but they're old, and they've been here, under our feet, waiting. For what? Reeve's eyes met hers. Us, or something we carry. She turned to her team. We're not staying here. We evac east, now. Get the civilians ready. This place won't be safe much longer. But where do we go? Sora asked. Anywhere this thing isn't. Another tremor hit, then another. Like footsteps. No, not footsteps. Waking, as her team scrambled, Alara slipped into her private quarters and keyed in. The last secure link to the relay buoy still in orbit. She transmitted everything: Reeve's survival, the vault awakening, the new entity. She didn't expect it to go far, but someone, somewhere had to know humanity wasn't alone anymore, and maybe never had been. A knock pulled her from the console. Reeve stood in the doorway, holding an ancient data core wrapped in radiation shielding. I didn't tell you everything, he said. Her jaw clenched. I figured. This, he said, placing the core down, was pulled from the first vault, right before the others vanished. It contains a map. A map to what? 2 more vaults, across this region of space. Hundreds. Alara stared at him, disbelief mounting. He looked back at her, face tight with fear and awe. They've been here longer than the stars. Outside, the black monolith opened at the top like a blooming alien flower. Something stepped out, and it was looking at them. The thing that emerged from the vault wasn't a creature in the way they understood it. Was a shape made of motion, limbs too fluid for bone, angles that bent reality. It shimmered like metal and light, like memory and thunder. Alara couldn't breathe. The monolith pulsed behind it, casting a low glow across the valley as the thing stood, tall and unshaking, staring down the ridge toward their battered outpost. All around her, soldiers locked up, trained warriors frozen by something their minds couldn't process. Then it spoke Aegon inside them. You are not the first to wake us. You will not be the last. But you are the loudest. Sora stumbled beside her, blood running from her nose. Captain, it's inside my thoughts. Digging. Alara grabbed her, steadied her. Fight it. It's probing. Don't let it in. The creature didn't move. It didn't need to. The voice echoed through every living human, like thunder against bone. You carry the fire. You are echoes of the ones who burned the sky. Reeve was pale. They think we're someone else. No, Alara said, eyes wide with sudden clarity. They think we're their enemy. The coms crackled. Base command lit up. Inbound signals. Multiple. All directions. Something's coming. Captain, something big. Alara turned to her team. Get the civilians out. Now. Priority. Evac. Load everything: Reeves, core, rations, weapons. We're leaving this crater. In 10. But where? Sora asked, wiping blood from her chin. To the old landing site, Alara replied. If that shuttle's even half live, we're making it fly. They moved fast. Too fast. Supplies dumped into skiffs, wounded hoisted onto stretchers, children stuffed into armored transport rigs. Reeve ran beside her, clutching the data core like it was sacred. Then the tremors returned, but this time they came from the sky. Looked up, hand froze. Shapes dropped through the clouds. Dozens, not ships, not Vior, but constructs, each one a vertical shard of obsidian, hovering, humming with the same red light as the monolith. They spread like seeds from a god's hand. They're activating the network, Reeve said breathlessly. The whole damn sector. And what do they want? Ilara asked. He turned to her. Judgment. The first shard landed nearby with a seismic roar. It unfolded like a flower of war, spitting drones black orbs with scanning tendrils. Analyzing, mapping, targeting. The base's auto-defenses fired. The orbs didn't even flinch. They just absorbed the plasma, burst sand, then redirected it. In a single, pinpoint beam that turned a turret into molten slag. Move, Ilara roared. Her team scattered. They fired, screamed, ducked behind rubble as the orbs advanced with eerie silence. Not attacking unless provoked, but always watching. In the chaos, Reeve collapsed beside her, clutching the core. I saw what they did on other worlds, he gasped. In the vault, they erase civilizations. Not because of hatred, but because they see us as a variable, unstable, too dangerous to be left unchecked. Ilara stared at him, heart pounding. Then we show them the truth. She snatched the data core, ran toward the highest comms tower still standing. What are you doing? Reeve shouted after her. If they think we're echoes of some ancient enemy, let's give them a different echo. She slammed the core into the terminal, accessed the Terran encryption. Her hands flew across the controls, rerouting power, patching into every live Terran frequency, still bouncing around the quadrant. A beacon began to pulse, not the one from the vault. This one was human, and then her voice. Sent into the void. This is Captain Ilara Miles of the Terran Vanguard. We are survivors. We are not your enemy. But if you come for us, we will not go quietly. We carry more than fire. We carry memory, hope, rage, and the will to rise again, no matter how many times we fall. So look at us, see us, and understand. She locked eyes with the nearest drone, its red light pulsing brighter. We remember how to fight. The drone froze, paused, then all of them did. The monolith across the ridge dimmed, and for the first time, the strange being took a single step back. Everything stopped. The drones, the monolith, the obsidian flowers in the sky. Even the air seemed to freeze, as if the world itself held its breath. Listening to the heartbeat of one human woman's defiance, Ilara stood at the top of the comms tower, wind tugging at her torn uniform, the ancient data core glowing faintly beside her. Her transmission echoed across dead satellites and shattered colonies, threading through the remains of a broken civilization. And someone was listening. Commander Reeve climbed the last few steps behind her, limping, his face pale. With AW, you woke them up. No, she said, eyes locked on the drones that hovered like silent gods. They were always awake. We just reminded them what we are. The being near the vault tilted its head, its limbs folded in strange, elegant movements, unreadable yet unmistakably sentient. The voice returned quieter now, still inside her mind, but softer. You are not the ones who burned, but the fire echoes in you. Ilara breathed deeply. That fire is called survival, and it's all we have left. There was a long silence. Then the being extended a hand knot in threat. In gesture, an offering, Ilara descended the tower slowly. Her rifle lowered, her people watching in breathless stillness. When she reached the base of the monolith, the being's form shifted again, more humanoid now. It began to glow not red, but a warm, brilliant gold. The light flowed toward her like liquid memory, and in that light, she saw it. Not war, not extinction, a warning, a test. The architects were not destroyers. They were archivists, guardians of balance. They had witnessed civilizations rise to fast become consumed by their own power and fall in flames. They had watched the VR consume everything in their path and chose silence, until now, until humanity called out. Reeve stepped forward, eyes wide. They're scanning us. Alara nodded. They're measuring us. The light pulsed through her bones, her memories, her scars. It showed her Earth still sealed, but not dead. It showed her ships in deep space, Terran survivors hiding among the stars, and then, something impossible. Other vaults across 100 worlds, beginning to awaken, not in aggression, but in curiosity. Hope, you have been seen, the voice said, and you may yet become more. Then, like mist in sunlight, the being dissolved into starlight. The monoliths began to fold. The shards in the sky retracted their limbs and lifted into the atmosphere without a single word or weapon. Fired. Within minutes, they were gonna leaving only a crater, a wound in the earth, and silence. A silence thick with questions. Alara stood motionless as her team gathered around her. Some stared at the sky, others cried. One soldier dropped to his knees, laughing through tears. Sora whispered, "What just happened?" Alara turned slowly. "They gave us a choice. To do what? To grow or burn?" Reeve walked to the comms panel, rewiring what was left. "I'll send the report out. The whole truth. About the vaults, about the architects, about the others." Alara nodded, looking out across the empty horizon. "And tell them something else." "What?" She smiled faintly, tears streaking the dust on her cheeks. "That humanity was tested, and we didn't shoot first." In the weeks that followed, survivors rallied. New signals began to emerge from deep space, other Terran outposts, other voices calling out. They found old vaults on barren moons, each holding something different. Knowledge, energy, or silence, and among them all, one constant. Humanity had been noticed, not by enemies, not by gods, but by witnesses. And for the first time since the warfall, the stars felt closer. On the morning of the final evacuation, as the last shuttle rose from Lerna Prime's scorched surface, Alara looked down at the empty vault and whispered, "We were never alone, and now, we'd never go quietly again."